The Changing the Guard ceremony at Buckingham Palace has been suspended. Public tours of Parliament have been cancelled. But the West End is as busy as ever because life, of course, must go on.
It's not going to stop us coming at all, no. Just coming out for a nice day and that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. Gotta keep going.
The government hopes that the threat level can be reduced again in a few days' time. But before that happens, they will have to be absolutely sure that they've closed down the terrorist network and rounded up all involved. That, for now, is still an ongoing and fast-moving operation. Alistair Bunkle, Sky News.
Police have now established the identities of all of the 22 people killed in the attack at Manchester Arena. Many of those who were initially said to have been missing have now been confirmed as dead. And in the last few hours, Greater Manchester Police have confirmed the deaths of 17-year-old Chloe Rutherford and her 19-year-old boyfriend, Liam Curry. In a statement, their families said they were perfect in every way for each other and were meant to be. In Royton, in Greater Manchester, residents have laid flowers in tribute to two mothers who died while they were waiting to pick up their children from the concert. Sky's Siobhan Robbins reports.
The grief here is visible. Sadness has seeped through the little town of Royton. In the face of senseless violence, people here try to honour their dead. Remembering friends Alison Howe and Lisa Lees, who were waiting for their children when the bomb went off.
I know Lauren's been posting that her mum's been missing since the blast, so it's been worrying. We've been posting over the social media to help to find her mother. And last night the news broke out from the family that, you know, she passed away, and it's just so sad.
Some of the tributes here talk about a sorrow too deep for words, but that doesn't even begin to explain the pain being felt throughout this town, a town that's lost two mums. Books of condolence have been opened across the northwest as other communities face a similar grief. In Bury, a vigil was held for the victims, including locals John Atkinson and Olivia Campbell. The 15-year-old's family visited every hospital in the area in the hope of finding her alive. Near Preston, classmates held a minute's silence for 8-year-old Safi Roussos. How can tiny children understand an act which adults can't explain?
Safi was simply a beautiful little girl in every aspect of the word. She was loved by everyone, and her warmth and kindness will be remembered fondly. Safi was quiet and unassuming with a creative flair.
An hour's south, another young life is mourned. Popular 14-year-old Nell Jones died at the concert. Her friend Freya only just survived.
She was in intensive care. She was on the surgeon's table for 10.5 hours. She described as having shrapnel in various parts, in every inch of her body. I mean, basically, her sister came into school today to address the sixth form. I don't know how she did that. It was absolutely brave.
Freya is one of dozens being treated in hospitals across Greater Manchester. Even experienced surgeons can't prepare for this.
I think one of the hardest things that certainly I directly dealt with my colleagues in the Children's Hospital was looking after children who we didn't know who they were, we didn't know their name, we hadn't identified them. I mean, I can't imagine what their parents were going through until we had done that, but actually it was remarkably hard, somehow more so than doing the medicine, not having a clue of the name of the person you were looking after.
Police say they've identified all 22 who died here. After the shock of Monday's attack, Manchester is now mourning. Siobhan Robbins, Sky News in Manchester.
Let's take a look now at the stories making headlines around the world. France's Libération reports on the security operation in the UK as the country goes on the highest level of terror alert following the suicide bomb attack in Manchester on Monday night. The National from Abu Dhabi says the bomber, who was known to the security forces, was not acting alone and that the British police are carrying out extensive searches for his accomplices. The Gulf News says the UK is deploying the biggest number of troops in decades to prevent another terror attack. Meanwhile, Qatar has denied remarks attributed to its emir, who is said to have described Hezbollah and Hamas as legitimate resistance movements against the policy of other Gulf states. The Jerusalem Post covers the 50th anniversary celebrations of the reunification of the Holy City, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declaring that the Temple Mount will always be under Israeli control. Israel's Haaretz reports that clashes erupted between protesters and participants during the 50th anniversary flag march in Jerusalem, in which 60,000 paraded through the Old City. The South China Morning Post says a China Eastern Airlines plane carrying 141 passengers and crew slid off the runway at Hong Kong International Airport yesterday as torrential downpours lashed the city. Kenya's Daily Nation questions whether Anne Waiguru will ever be investigated or even taken to court, saying she may very well get away with her involvement in the disappearance of a huge amount of money from the coffers of the National Youth Service while she was serving as a cabinet minister. South Africa's Star reports on the drought disaster in the Cape, the worst the province has experienced since 1904. The Cape Argus celebrates Africa Day, but reports that violence against children has reached crisis levels in South Africa, where 1 in 3 youngsters are at risk of becoming victims of sexual assault and physical abuse. This is Sky World News, and coming up...